Hey there, One Stop Co-op Shop viewers. This is Mike, and we have some big, exciting news. If you didn't already notice, our channel crossed a big milestone, 40,000 subscribers. So yeah, we wanted to have a little bit of fun to celebrate, and every single member of our big family, Jason, Barrett, Steve, Peter, Colin, and myself, have gone through our game collections and picked out 5 of them that we think are forever games. Games that, at least for the foreseeable future, are not going to leave our shelves no matter what. And then to get us to an even 40 for the 40,000 celebration, we have 10 games that you all selected in a poll. We had hundreds of you enter, so thanks so much for that. We'll go through those at the end.
Starting with number 1, which is Keyforge Adventures. Yes, this is the one-stop co-op shop Keyforge deck that we have. This is a little bit of cheat, and it's also down at the bottom of my list because I love Keyforge. One of my top games of all time, no question about it. Keyforge is never leaving my collection. Keyforge Adventures is good. I don't know if it's as good as some of these other games we have, but it's really, really, really good. And I am excited about the prospect of the future. There are 2 adventures that have already been released that are very, very good. And they will never leave my collection because they will stay with my Keyforge collection. And it's nice to be able to play solo or co-op with people. It's one of my favorite games that I love. But I am super excited with what they've learned from the system and what they take forward with the system and what new adventures come out in the future. I know one's already been announced, and I am super excited to try that one out as well. So that is my number 5, Keyforge Adventures.
Mage Knight is one of my forever games. I love it as a solo game. I could play that all day, every day. I love adventuring on the map, using my cards to do many different things, puzzling out those combats against the cities or lots of different enemies. Oh, I love it. I can't get enough of that game. It's so tight and it's so wonderful to play. That is Mage Knight. Definitely one that I'd recommend for solo players.
It's my turn to tell you about 5 games that I enjoy, still enjoy, will never not enjoy, and will always have in my collection. The first one I'm going to start with is my gateway game to co-op gaming. It is a game that has brought me many friends and many years of enjoyment. It is Leading Edge's game Aliens. This time it's war. As you can tell by the box, it has seen its fair share of love over the years. It has been transported through many different places into many different player areas. I play this game still regularly, and on top of that, we use it during our Extra Life stream. It's always our last game we play because it's just so much fun. You can never not have fun playing it. Is that even a sentence? I love it. It has to be. So Leading Edge Games is still one of my favorite games. It'll never leave my collection. It was really my gateway game into this space. And so and it's Aliens. You can't go wrong.
Marvel United is a 1 to 4 player, fully cooperative game in which players take on the role of Marvel superheroes, try and take down a big bad boss by chaining different combos of actions together with different special powers. Now, why this game is a forever game is because this is only a 30-minute game, and at its heart, it is a limited resource management game, which provides a really fun puzzle because you only have so many actions available to you, and you really have to work together to try to figure out how to approach each villain. And that becomes a really fun puzzle. Normally with only a 12-card deck, and this game will last like 30 minutes, it becomes a very tense puzzle towards the end of each game. With a lot of variety of different characters and different strategies to explore, this one constantly sees play for me. Absolutely love this one. That is Marvel United.
My number 5 is a cooperative programming game. It could have been Space Alert, one of my favorite games that got me into the hobby, but instead it is Quirky Circuits, edging it out because of the utter cuteness factor. I love the presentation of this one. That one is cooperative programming that adds an element of playing cards face down, the mind style. I bet someone else is going to talk about that one. What I like about cooperative programming is that when it falls apart, and it feels terrible. But it inspires you to work harder, mind meld with your partners more, and when you succeed, especially as you get into the later levels, so satisfying. And the cuteness, and it has an expansion, Quirky Circuits. I love it. It's going to be in my collection forever, which is the point of the list. That's my number 5.
Hey, Mike here again to share my first forever game on the list, which is, not surprisingly, Arkham Horror, the card game. This is my number 1 game of all time. I love the scenario variety. I love how you can build different characters and different types of decks and really change up the entire way you play. The narrative is awesome. I've always been a fan of the Lovecraft mythos in general. The Chaos Bag can be frustrating, but besides that, I think this is a consistently exciting, intense, amazing game. I think the creators of the campaign campaigns are doing awesome job. Even when a campaign is my favorite, I still have fun playing it. So Arkham Horror, the card game, my first forever game.
My number 4 was my number 1 game a few years ago, which is Just One. That's right. It's a game of writing down the first word that comes to your mind when you have to make somebody guess something. So, for example, if it's ladder, you might write rung, or you might write climb, or you might write something else. And everyone around the table is doing the same thing. And if any 2 words match, then the guesser does not get to see those words. It's a cooperative game. Again, we're trying to get people to guess as many of these in a row as we can. Just One, super fun game for large groups of people. I don't necessarily think I play it with less than 4. It plays great all the way up to 7 players, and just super fun. Just One.
Lord of the Rings, the card game, is a forever game for me because I love the theme. Who doesn't love adventuring in Middle-earth? And you're building decks, you're going on all these different quests. There's so many available. You will never exhaust everything that's out there. You could play this day in and day out and never get bored of it. I love that you can build your own deck, you can find decks online, and you can try them. It's a great cooperative and solo experience. I absolutely love it. That's Lord of the Rings, the living card game.
The signature huge black box that holds the miniatures, the game, and everything that is Kingdom Death is just a fantastic experience. I can't get enough of this game. It actually is the longest running series, I think, on the One Stop Co-op Shop that has ever been, and might rival Colin's Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure if I surpassed it, but I think I got pretty close. This game is incredible. And not only that, you can come back to this over and over and have an absolutely amazing experience. From the very beginning fight to the very end fight, this boss battler and civilization builder is something to rival any other game. It will never leave my collection. It will always be here, and I can never get enough of Kingdom Death Monster. So that is why it's on my list of top 5.
Spirit Island is a 1 to 4 player game, or more with the expansion, in which players will be acting as spirits that are trying to defend the island from invaders. The goal is to try to scare off the invaders and win the game. The reason why this is one of my forever games is because I absolutely love the interactions of this one. There's a ton of different ways to play each spirit because each spirit has different power cards that they will be playing, but throughout the game you'll be drafting additional power cards. And there's a lot of ways in which you can build each spirit. You can try to leverage the innate abilities, or maybe you forego that and try to do a totally different strategy, or maybe this one was a more defensive spirit and you want to try to see if you can make it offensive. Love that. I love the ability to explore different ways, and the complexity of this one is quite high. There's a lot of interactions. Definitely recommend Spirit Island. This one is definitely staying in my collection, and can't wait for more.
My number 4 reflects the fact this is a forever games list, games that resonate with me emotionally. That's going to be that white box on the far side over there, The Pursuit of Happiness. It is the game of life Euro style, where you are placing your workers, which is your time, and you are building your life. You're doing life projects. You're getting into relationships, getting married, advancing in your job, getting pets as they rise and fall. So many beautiful thematic integration elements while still presenting a solid mechanical core that is challenging in solo multiplayer. Is it the most innovative game? Have you played anything like it before? You probably have. But in terms of the total package and that immersion theme, I truly love this game and all of its expansions. That is The Pursuit of Happiness, my number 4.
Hey, Mike here again with my second forever game, which is the Exceed fighting system. And this one's a bit of a cheat because there is no official solo or co-op. But if you haven't seen any of my videos, I designed a solo mode for it. This is a 1v1 card-based fighting game. I like video game fighting games, but I'm trash at them. So I love the card-based ones that let me use all my tactics without the real-time aspect. Exceed is my favorite of the bunch. And I think, without bragging too much, I think my solo mode works really well for it and covers a ton of fighters. So I love this game. I love playing with my sons. Solo makes it a little bit easier to get to the table consistently and try out all the players. Exceed is always exciting, and it's my number 2 forever game.
My next game is a game similar vein. It's more of a party game, The Mind. The Mind is so fun. This is a game I carry with me. You see how small the box is? I carry it with me everywhere I go. Anybody that says, oh, let's get a game together, I pull out The Mind. It is such a great game to introduce to people. Some people say it's best to play with people that you've played with many times before because you get really good at it and it's a lot easier to beat it and you get that mind meld going. I think it's fun to play with somebody I've just met for the first time and try to figure out that mind meld and not just play it once, but probably play it 2-3 times in a row and watch as we get better and better and progress as we play the game more and more. just a super fun game. I could teach the rules in like literally 10 seconds. And then we just continue to play the game. So one of my favorites of all time, never going to leave my collection. That's The Mind.
Cthulhu Death May Die is one of my forever games because I love the experience of dice chucking, taking on huge Elder ones, and you can combine any Elder one with any scenario, plug them together, and also have any investigators. You're trying to go insane, but not too insane, rolling tons of dice. It is so much fun, a great beer and pretzels game, and those minis look awesome, especially painted. Cthulhu Death May Die is one of my forever games. I love it.
It's me. It's another alien themed game. And it's an absolutely fantastic experience. Nemesis by far is one game that I keep coming back to because I can't not enjoy the theme of this game. And introducing it to any person I have has just enjoyed this game. You get to run around a ship or you're on Mars, depending on which one you get. And you have to try to not only dodge or maybe destroy the xenomorphs that are in this game, you also need to try to complete your objective, either cooperatively or competitively, semi, I guess, to see if you can actually survive what has come into this place. This game it just screams theme, and it has such an exciting and engaging experience. Every event, every gun you pick up, every item you have is going to have a huge impact in how this game transpires. I love Nemesis. I will never get rid of it. I will keep both Lockdown, and I'm going to keep the original Nemesis, and I'm going to count them as one game because they're both absolutely awesome. And besides, it's again almost like an alien type theme, and I love that genre. So there you go, Nemesis.
One of my favorite games is Street Masters. In Street Masters, it's a 1-to-4 player game where players act as fighters, martial arts fighters, try and take down a big bad boss in a stage. And the reason why it's a favorite game for me is a lot to do with the modular deck system. So how that works is each player is playing as a fighter with a unique deck that controls the powers and abilities and combos they can pull off. And that combos are combined with a stage which has another unique deck which controls the environment, the effects, things you can interact with, and then the boss itself, which has their own set of cards with different abilities and enemies to face. And combining all three of those in different combinations adds to a unique experience. I really enjoy that. Couple that with fun exploding dice, which you always have a chance of winning, leads to some very exciting times. And that is why Street Masters is one of my forever games.
My number 3 would be Spirit Island. You see it right there, but someone else is going to talk about that later. Instead, let me talk about my favorite solitaire game, Onirim from Shadi Torbey. In it, you are playing a dreamwalker that is trying to escape from a nightmare represented by a deck of cards. You'll be matching symbols and casting little magical powers and shuffling a lot. Really, it is such a beautiful meditative game. I've played this game maybe hundreds of times in the physical version and more in the app. But really, my number 3 is the entire Oniverse series. You see it right there behind me. You got a roll and move that's done very well. You got some Yahtzee style games and cards and tiles. The Oniverse gives you everything. I'm at the point where Shadi Torbey could just announce one word and boom, there it is. I am there for it. So because of Mike's rules, I got to do one game, which is going to be Onirim. Between you and me, the entire Oniverse. You can't go wrong. My number 3.
Hey, Mike's back again, and this time my number 3 forever game is Root. This one I wasn't sure about because I was thinking about actually culling it, even though I had everything up to or before the Marauder expansion. This is, if you haven't seen it, an area control kind of fighting asymmetric faction game of Woodland Fury. And I love specifically the solo mode, even though it can be a lot of work to run the bots for the different factions. Just the variety and mixing factions together, especially once you get expansions, is so exciting. Now, the reason I almost got rid of it is because I wasn't sure if I would ever play it multiplayer enough. But now that I did buy the Marauder stuff, they've made 2-player play way more viable and way more interesting with these kind of like sub-factions that can help you all out. So with that combo, I'm now back in on Root all the way. It's going to stay in my collection. It's my number 3 forever game.
My next game is another competitive game similar to Keyforge, where they made a solo mode for it. But this one is one I mostly play solo, actually, and that is Gaia Project. That's right, Gaia Project is so fun. It's such a great game. It's a game I've played with many people, played it competitive a lot, but it is really good solo as well. The bot provides an excellent challenge. The game feels unique and fresh every time you play it. This is probably the best Automa system of any game that's out there. It is really, really good. It's a game that reminds me of playing a 4X game, even though it isn't 4X. You're not really exploring, but you're, terraforming new planets, and you are grading your buildings and getting all different kinds of different resource production. And based on your faction, that you get different resources based on what things you decide to build and upgrade. You have different tech tracks that you're going up. And as you go up these tech tracks, you unlock new different ways you can explore further out in the galaxy or whatever else, but all in a very simplified manner. And again, the Automa system in this game is so, so good. So if you haven't tried it out yet, try Gaia Project. Definitely my favorite competitive game with a solo mode. It is just awesome. And there is a winner and a loser too. It's not just beat your own score. The Automa gets a score as well. And they can be tough to beat, especially as you crank up the difficulty levels.
Unsettled is a forever game for me. I love the puzzles of the different planets, and each planet has 3 different puzzles. And I can still play those same puzzles over and over again and enjoy them with different groups, even on my own. I love that. The writing is amazing. The action system is wonderful. There's no wasted time during the game. You're just ticking down your dice and then it's the next player. It goes quick. I love the cooperation. Some of the best cooperation I've seen in a game. Unsettled, that is one of my forever games.
Let's take a boss battler and give it a little battle flow. And you're going to have Oathsworn. Oathsworn's narrative boss battler is fantastic. Again, never going to leave my collection. There are so many different Oathsworn you can play as, and they are going to be having a completely different feel on the battle. On top of that, as you play through the story, moments in the story are going to matter between what Oathsworn you have and which way you go. I've had an absolutely fantastic experience playing this with Colin over on my channel, The One Stop Co-op Shop. We have almost completed it at the time of this recording, and by the time you see this, we're still, I think, might be 1 mission away from completing this game, and we can't stop playing it. It is so much fun. I love the whole battle flow, and I love the bosses, and I love having these epic encounters, and this fantastically huge story is in a theme that is like rooted in kind of despair and dirt and grime, and it's super, super fun, like mud just stuck to your boots all the time. It's Oathsworn. It's amazing. If you haven't played it, you have to check it out. Oathsworn has made my top 5 and it's never going to leave my collection. I have no problem returning to this over and over and having such wonderful experiences.
Another one of my forever games is Marvel Legendary. Marvel Legendary is a 1 to 5 player deck builder game. It originally was competitive, but honestly, most people play cooperative, which of course we play cooperative as well. In this game, each player is going to start with a basic deck of shield agents and recruiting the superheroes from the Marvel Universe to try to take down a big bad boss that is trying to complete its own scheme. So the reason why this is a forever game is because I will never play the same game twice. There is more than 10 years of supported content for this game. We're talking more than 200 different heroes, a platitude of different masterminds and schemes you can pick from, and enemy groups. You can mix it up to your heart's content. That's what makes it really fun. If I want to do something silly like, what would happen to Galactus to try to invade the Daily Bugle? Sure enough, I could set that up. Or maybe I saw one of the Marvel movies and I want to recreate that scene. I can recreate that as well. And I just never get tired of playing this. And with all those different keywords and mechanics that have been released over the years, there's some really interesting combinations and unique things that I experience each time I play this game. And that's why this one is one of my forever games.
My number 2 is a small game that packs a huge punch for me. It is Hanabi. In this game, everyone has a hand of cards. Only you can't see your own cards. You can see everybody else's cards. So you're giving people clues, getting them to play cards in the center of the table that are in order. But if they don't play them in order, boom, explosion. It's one of those games I can play with brand new people and just fumble around and have a really great time laughing at each other. Or you can get into the advanced play, get to those conventions like a game of bridge and try to beat the highest levels. On BGA, Board Game Arena, I've played this game literally thousands of times. It's my comfort food game, so versatile. I'm going to play this game forever. Hanabi, my number 2.
Hey, Mike again with my number 4 forever game. This one should not be a surprise either to those who watch the channel a lot. This is Bullet, Bullet Love, Bullet Star, my second level 99 game on the list. Clearly, I like them a lot. And Bullet's sticking around because kind of like Root, kind of like Exceed, I just love trying out different characters and different factions, and Bullet has that in spades. You have 8 characters in each of the main releases that play very differently. Then each of them has a boss side for the solo co-op mode, so you have 8 different bosses in each release that play very differently, and the combos and synergy between them is really interesting. I love the puzzle manipulation and combos of the game competitive. I love it solo. I love it co-op. This is one of my favorite games of all time. And yeah, clearly it's going to be a forever game for me.
And my number 1 game of all time, everybody should know this, I've been streaming it live every Friday night pretty much for 2 years straight plus, is Marvel Champions. Marvel Champions does such a good job of making you feel like a superhero. The card play is excellent. I am a gameplay over theme person, where if the gameplay is good enough, I can look past the bad theme. You don't need to with this. The theme is excellent. If you like Marvel, you're going to love it. But also, the gameplay is where it's at. I love having a handful of cards, trying to decide which of those cards I want to play, which I'm going to use to pay for other cards, and then making that decision again next turn. And like, do we take care of this fire that's right in front of us right now? Or do we go for the end goal? Or do we have to save ourselves and pull ourselves out because the threat's getting too high? And I can't worry about that. Can't worry about drawing extra cards next turn. I'm going to have to do all that because I'm going to have to just focus on, getting rid of all the threat on the main scheme. Or is it, oh, well, let's just go attack them right now because we're not going to win. In 3 turns, we're losing this game, or 2 turns, we're losing this game. We're just going to have to go all out on the next couple of turns. I just love the turn-to-turn decisions. The tactical play of Marvel Champions, really one of the best games of all time.
Fireteam Zero is one of my forever games. I love the hand management system. Your cards you play for actions are also your health. I also love how simple the game is. There isn't all these crazy rules. You just look at the board, okay, I can move up to 2 spaces and do 1 action. And the whole goal of the game is not to defeat the monsters, but you have to get through, and then they continue to spawn. And it's always a 3 scenario campaign, and I've loved every single one of them. It always feels tight, fun, exciting, and it's always tense because you can go down like that. I love Fireteam Zero. That's a forever game for me.
As you can tell, I'm a huge fan of having a story to tell. And what other game does a better job of telling a story than Midara? Midara's story is like none other. It is an expansively huge book. I love the fact that it branches off depending on how you do in the story, what you choose to do in the story. I love that about this game. I like the fact that you have characters that are almost literally blank slates that you can equip with not only weapons and items, but also their powers. And you can make these characters be exactly what you want in this game. And you're going to be dungeon crawling through the story. And it's an absolutely fantastic experience. The other part of this game that's really cool about the story is it's so personable. The characters are all talked about in the game. You learn about these characters. You learn to love and hate these characters and all the things that happen to them. So Midara has by far one of the best dungeon crawlers I have ever played because it has such a great narrative, but on top of that, having the experience of being able to create these characters that you built is something that I will always remember. Midara Act 1 is going to be on my list forever.
Defenders of the Realm is a 1-4 or up to 6 players with the expansion game, which players will be building out their own hero in a fantasy world, leveling up, gaining loot, recruiting allies to join their party, as they try to take down each of the 4 generals before they reach Monarch City and destroy the realm. This is a forever game due to sentimental reasons for me. This was my go-to game whenever my brother-in-law visited. My wife and I, we always had to play this every time he visited. It was a lot of fun with epic music playing as we rolled dice, and had so much fun with this game that even there was a contest that came out in which you can submit different ideas for side quests. And I submitted a few ideas, and a couple of mine were picked, and my name is on the card. So between having some designed cards with my name on it, and then also having that sentimental attachment from growing up with this game, this one is always going to stick in my collection. Absolutely love it. Defenders of the Realm.
My number 1 should be no surprise to anyone who's watched my content over the years. I got it over my shoulder, a whole bunch of it. I love it. It is Pandemic. At this point, Pandemic is a system more than it is a game. You have a Pandemic style game where you have your pawns that are moving around a board and an opposition that is spreading like cubes or whatever it is. Many games do it, but I love the simplicity, the distilled gameplay, the short-term, long-term tension, the puzzle that Pandemic brings. The original can't be beat. I love all the expansions as well, shuffling in those modules. I don't ever foresee any game conquering Pandemic as my number one, but I dare all game makers to keep trying.
And here's Mike again with my 5th forever game, game number 30, before we get to the 10 from our viewers. And that is Sentinels of the Multiverse, the Definitive Edition. And this is a funny one because I owned everything, all the way up through Oblivion or Oblivion for the original Sentinels of the Multiverse. And then I called it. All of it. But why did I call it? Because I think Definitive Edition is so much better. The characters are more consistently fun. Your combos come together in a more consistent way. Yes, sometimes you have to dig through your deck a little bit too much. But besides that, I love it. The villains that used to be broken are now actually playable. And the things that I always loved about Sentinels, the great card combos, the fun mixing and matching of environments and villains, the huge variety in gameplay and play types. It's just consistently a blast. I like playing with my family. I like playing it solo. I like playing it whenever I can, and that's why Sentinels of the Multiverse Definitive Edition is my number 5 forever game. And so, as promised for our last 10 games, let's look at the viewer favorites, the ones that you all voted for, and thanks to everybody who entered. And number 10, one a bunch of you picked, a great solo adventure game that does have co-op and competitive, but I don't really know anybody who plays those modes. This is Nemo's War in its many different editions. I know Colin and Steve are also big fans of this one. Several of you also picked Arc Nova to be at the number 9 spot, a great tableau builder. Not sure if you're picking it for the official solo mode or the very popular Arno one that Colin did a video for, but definitely a great game. Voted on by many of you, and at our number 8 spot is Imperium Classics and Legends. What's the new set coming? Horizons. This is a competitive deck builder with another great solo mode. We enjoy this one too. I think mainly Colin and I would really put this near our top list. And then at number 7, another great solo cooperative one. This is Robinson Crusoe. It's definitely a big favorite for Colin. I'm imagining it was just barely outside of his top 5 for forever games. Steve loves it too, and maybe Jason and Barrett, I'm not sure. Then at number 6, we're seeing a lot of love for solo games from y'all, is Final Girl. This one was potentially, I think, in my top 10 forever, but not my top 5. I definitely enjoy this. For number 5, we have the solo play in Dune Imperium, another deck builder kind of worker placement hybrid. I didn't love this one originally, but Jason from the channel and a bunch of viewers have recommended the expansions and said they really kicked the game up a notch, so I should give this one another try. But that's, again, the viewers' number 5. For number 4, we have Aeon's End and Astro Knights. I kind of put them together, both solo cooperative deck builder, kind of boss battler games. They have very similar systems, so I again just combined the votes. I think Aeon's End had more than Astro Knights though, since it's stood the test of time better. Number 3 is the globetrotting romp Eldritch Horror. I know Jason had this as his number 6, so it barely missed our list, and probably Colin had it close too. I also love this one, a great game. Number 2, and probably one that a lot of you were surprised didn't make any of our lists, is the Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, Jaws of the Lion combo. I'm a bit havened out. We do have a Frosthaven campaign going, but we've been choosing to play other campaign games like ISS Vanguard in preference. I'm not sure if Colin started Frosthaven yet. I am intrigued by the new evolution of Gloomholden, the solo-only Gloomhaven-like mini. That's part of the festival crowdfunding campaign that's going on right now. But yeah, Gloomhaven, I might get back to it at some point. I definitely want to play Frosthaven more, but it's certainly not as high in my estimations as it once was. And finally, your all's number 1, well, besides games that we already picked, like Spirit Island, I think was the actual number 1, is Too Many Bones. This might have been on my list, except I said in a recent shelf life that I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it because I might like Elder Scrolls so much better with a similar system that I might keep that one. But for now, I'm waiting for my Unbreakable stuff to come, and I just love this entire system. And yeah, it was a favorite for you all, the number 1 of games that we did not pick for our top 30, and that makes 40 forever games overall. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. 40 games to celebrate 40,000 subscribers. It's still hard to believe that the channel has grown so much thanks to you. And our streaming channel keeps getting bigger. Our podcast keeps getting bigger. If you didn't see, we were nominated for a Golden Geek for the podcast, or we were a finalist, not even nominated. So yeah, just loving all the support for our little cooperative and solo journey together. And we'll see you for more subscribers, more years to come, more content, more great games. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.